are live. There is the button that pops up, and it's great to have everybody back again. Just to give people a chance to filter in from the last session, in case you're wondering why I keep talking to you today. I'm Lauren. I'm your moderator today. I'm from Calibri Games. We're in Berlin. All of the topics that I've been hearing about today are super interesting for me, for us. I really hope for everyone listening as well. We're not stopping this afternoon. It is awesome panel after awesome panel. So having heard about AI featuring the lovely Olga, I'm now actually going to hand over to the lovely Olga, who is going to moderate this particular panel, which is on the topic of AI again. I believe your official title is The Use of AI in the Gaming Industry as New Realities in 2024, Development, Marketing, Optimization, Graphics, etc. So there's something for everyone. Olga, pretty please.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Greetings, everyone. My name is Olga. I'm Business Development Lead at Adlight, AI-powered creative analytic tools, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to our panel specifically devoted to AI in gaming. And I hope at this stage of the conference, you are not tired and annoyed of the word AI, because I need to confess, we're going to be using a lot of this during the next 1 hour. I recall last year AI topic was bumping up in almost every conversation, deliberately tailored to be about AI or not. And I felt there were many aspirations, but also worries, concerns, expectations, and clarity were on the table. So we have gathered today to discover what is the outcome of these thoughts, of these expectations and aspirations, how the industry is different now in terms of AI, and maybe we still will have space to wonder what shall we expect in 2024 and further. So unfortunately, AI is not joining our conversation today, but I'm excited to introduce 5 brilliant humans, experts and practitioners who will lead us through the application of AI from narrative design to targeting, and some of them will be acting as AI ambassadors, some of them will be acting as AI co-creators, and some of them may be gonna act as a competitors in this battle. So at this stage, I would like to open the session today with a short reflection of 2023. What's the AI implementation dynamics as of now? How has it changed the gaming industry over the year? Has AI really transformed from the buzzword to business reality, or maybe not that much? And our first speaker to welcome on stage is Hagop Hagopian, who have been in the gaming and app industry for over 10 years, working and leading teams and such heavyweights as Zynga. He's the brains behind the wonderful Appvertiser. You can see the sign on his background, a growth marketing agency that ramps up apps users grow. They are experts in mix of tactics from paid and organic strategies to soft launches. Hagop will tell more about this. This is a wonderful background sign. I adored it, and I fancy all of us will have the same one with our brands next time. So Hagop, please, where are we now in terms of AI spread?
Awesome. Thanks for that intro. Happy to be here and share my thoughts on sort of like how we're running on the operations. I'll give a very brief, I guess, in terms of like where things are. So I think at a high level we're implementing AI in the processes that's helping us with driving some operational efficiency. So definitely, I would say it's at a high level, it's kind of like a co-pilot that helps the UA managers, creative producers, ASO managers on whether it's in the research, running some reports, doing some execution. Of course, I think down the line it's going to go a little bit further. I'll explain in the next hour. Some tactics that we're kind of like implementing and using some of the APIs, connecting 2 dots together to drive some more automation. But I would say at this stage, in comparison from 2023 to now, I think 2023 was about oh, GPT, and we're like asking some random questions. I think in 2023 was mostly about like text, like for instance on ASO, and we were doing a lot of like generating text, localizing the content, etc. But this year we got more into, well, making it part of the operations I mentioned, whether it was on the creative production or to the research side for this level. So happy to share additional context in the next hour with you all.
Thank you, Hagop. And I'm pleased to invite Maria Borys-Piątkowska, who is the narrative designer with a decade of experience, building entire stories, characters, writing dialogues, and leading the localization of the games, and a proud Women in Games ambassador. Maria, the floor is yours, and I'm wondering, is the situation different in terms of AI implementation in narrative design?
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. And I'm very happy to be here with you and to share my thoughts. Actually, as a matter of fact, today in the morning, I read about Sora, which is the AI program that was designed by the same people from the ChatGPT. And Sora was actually able to design a cinematic or a video clip, I guess. So yep. When you ask me about, the dynamics and the development in this field, I think, oh my gosh, this is going far. And I think it's good that it's going far because from the narrative point of view, I guess 1 year ago or maybe a couple more, there was this popular article about Ubisoft using the ChatGPT when writing their dialogues and possibly quest stories and so on. And people were asking, also me included, at various conferences, if I am afraid of losing my job to ChatGPT. Of course, I will delve into details more during this panel after another questions. But still, I think that the most important thing is that AI is something that we can use to help ourselves. And when Ubisoft used it, and they were claiming that it's super cool, it's fine, and it's actually helping them, we were also like people, narrative designers in Polish studios, a couple more, even not only mine, we were just starting using it to help ourselves, to just be sure that we can, save time sometimes. It's not that it would be, officially delivered in the game and all the quests and all the stories and cutscenes will be written by AI, but some kind of, combat barks or generic statements, one-liners. This is something that is actually needed and necessary when different situations in a game, in a level, and it most often needs like hundreds of versions of them. So why not to use AI, which is actually a good tool when we want to write like 50 options of one actually context of the situation. So yeah, I actually, from my perspective, I started using it for my personal purposes, just to check it, try it, how it works, and as I said, in the context of those let's say barks and generic statements, that's super cool. But when it comes to writing a cutscene, like a drama, and emerging and evoking a conflict between characters, not exactly a good shot. But still, I think it will be developed. So maybe one day we'll see.
Thank you, Maria. So the takeout is that while we are talking here about AI is actually doing our job. There's something to think about, right? And Maria, I remember the last time we had a conversation, you promised us the anecdote about AI.
Yeah, about the Deep Blue. I guess we are all familiar with the story. Deep Blue was a computer, the first, I think, prove me if I'm wrong, but it was one of the first computers run by AI. And in 1996, it was used to challenge a chess master to play a game. And actually, the AI won with the chess master. So you can Google it. It's called Deep Blue. And that was actually a fantastic thing. It was like, the middle of the 90s. So like a couple 30 years ago almost, right? So yeah, this is actually very, very interesting, and we can see how it actually has developed till this time.
Thank you, Maria. And I would like to invite our next speaker, Kathleen Sherman, who is growth and scaling expert and super proficient with AI optimization for growth and business development manager at Gamelight, the largest rewarded marketing platform for mobile games. And Kathleen, please, the stage is yours. What's your opinion on this topic? Do you see any different dynamics? What are your main takeouts from the previous year?
I mean, of course, like AI has significantly transformed the gaming industry in so many different ways, right? Like it's impacting game development, the business processes, but it even impacts all the way to like user experience and the targeting therein. So specifically, AI algorithms, they can give rise to a more personalized experience, let's say. So this happens both on a user level, but it also helps when enhancing aspects of advertising. So things like monetization strategies and optimizing for player engagement. Essentially, I guess what I'm trying to say here and what I'll delve into a little bit deeper later on is that we're enhancing the user experience. We're enhancing that user satisfaction. And this in turn will positively impact partners' UA goals. And so it's a win-win-win situation all around.
Thank you, Kathleen. And I just want to bring one game to our audience. If there's somebody who can count how many times we have mentioned the AI, they will give a super special prize for us. And saying this, I'm happy to introduce our next speaker, Russell Sung. He is XR and AI enthusiast whose goal is to create immersive and innovative experiences in the virtual spaces. Previously, Russell is a developer advocate at Unity, and he is now developer relations manager in Inworld AI. At Inworld AI, he helps other developers to leverage the power of AI to create realistic dynamic characters, environments, and many other things. So, Russell, what's your perspective on the AI realities?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And it's really great to be able to follow up with all of these amazing panelists. So, I really see AI affecting two areas of the game development process, like the design time. So speeding up all the processes that's in the production cycle before the game actually launches, things like what Ubisoft is doing with Ghostwriter, getting faster iterations of now with Sora, for example, your earlier cutscenes can be quickly generated. So that lowers a lot of the production time and barrier to entry. And as a gamer myself, who doesn't want a quicker turnaround time on some of these AAA titles, right? Lowers the risks for the studios involved, lowers the risks for the investors involved. And then also we have that runtime component. So this is all the stuff that happens when the player is playing, right? So it's like, are there going to be dynamic contexts about the environment of the game that is unique to that experience? Are there going to be special interactions and quests that only happen? And this has been happening in AI, in gaming for a while, in the sense of procedural generation has been a thing for a while. You can consider the AI that you think of in like a Zelda game exists, right? Like monsters react to you as a player and things like that. And so these are the two components that I see AI really impacting the game industry for the better.
Thank you, Russell. And now it's time to raise the voice for Sebastien Croteau, fabulous voice actor, voice coach, and voice director with more than 2 decades of experience, co-creating with such companies as Ubisoft, Warner Brothers, Sony Pictures, and at the same time, honorable president at the Montreal Factory. So, Sebastien, what are your thoughts being from another side of AI?
There's two things. I'm a voice actor, but I'm also a service provider. So I actually wear kind of two hats, but they're kind of in agreement with one another. So it's fine. Well, if you haven't heard about the actor strike that happened in the United States with SAG-AFTRA, you've probably been living under a rock, because this strike made a lot of noise in the media and everywhere around the world. There were many things that SAG-AFTRA were actually asking different company, and AI was not the only one, but was a main one of the main things that they wanted to actually discuss with the company, because there were several concerns, as you can imagine, being a voice talent and hearing that generative AI can replace what we're doing, and some valid concern. But of course, some of those concerns were rooted in company that already kind of abuse the thing a little bit. And I'm going to give one example. There was one company you actually require when you were going to do an audition, just a casting audition, like you're going there, you're not even in the movie, and they require a full 3D body scan. And they could do whatever they want with it. So you're not even chosen as an actor in the movie. But that was one of the requirements. Of course, it made a lot of noise. People heard about it and were like, hell no. So that's the thing. Sometimes technology can do wonders, but sometimes people abuse it right off the bat and there's no rules. So so that made a lot of reaction. The concern are mostly around, of course, consent. Like, do I consent for my voice to be used, to generate AI speech? That was one of the concerns. The other one, of course, it's users. Depending on let's say that I lend my voice and they made me say with my voice some weird stuff that I don't agree with that I don't personally agree with. For some people, not for me, because for me it's still acting. Even if I'm playing the bad guy and I say some dumb stuff, it's acting. I don't take it personally. It's acting, right? But for some other people that are really concerned about, the way that their voice is used and the word that their character are actually saying. So that's one thing. And of course, money. Am I going to get paid if they use my voice as a source for generative AI? So that was the three main concern. And if you look at, the reaction, even with the recent announcement from SAG-AFTRA, they actually made an agreement with Replica, one of the company in the state. A lot of people were worried about that. First, some voice talent said that they were not even consulted on the thing. But when you know how SAG-AFTRA operates and how they negotiate, the way that they negotiate when they negotiate with a single company, it's not the same that when they negotiated for a bundle of different companies. They can actually negotiate without necessarily asking all the members about their opinion about this thing. But if you look on the web, you would see that a lot of people were kind of against. Even SAG-AFTRA member were like, no way. And that boils down to a question of attitude towards AI. For me, it's already there. It's happening. So, staying on the bridge like Gandalf and saying, you shall not pass, for me, it doesn't work because it's already there and it's already being applied and used in speech for video game. So at least for me, and that's my point of view, the agreement, because there was no rule before, the agreement is actually a base that we can start negotiating with other company. And that I like this attitude, because instead of saying, no, I don't want you, go away, shoo, like there's actually an acknowledgement that this exists and we have to find a common ground and we have to talk to those company and try to find a common ground. So that's one thing. And just to give you an example of one company that I love that is doing AI stuff is Respeecher in Ukraine. Like if you look at their ethical department, if you look at the way that they ask consent with the voice talent, the way that the original voice talent is actually put in the credit of whoever used the voice. That's the kind of thing for me that actually take care of all the concerns. You're getting paid, you have consent, and you have recognition. You have a credit.
Sebastien, I'm sorry to interrupt. We'll get back and dive deeper into the topic of voice over and AI. And at this stage, you mentioned that technology can do wonders. I totally agree with you. And I'm wondering how good AI as a storyteller, what are the main benefits of using it in narrative design, and what are the tasks that AI can handle? What about emotions and so on? Maria, would you love to share a bit more?
Sure, of course, with pleasure. I mean, the most benefit is time saving. Of course, always like AI generated texts should, or they even have to be supervised by writers or narrative designers, because just double check the control is a good thing, right? Having control. So but still, if you, as I said, in case of writing, when we have to give 50 options of one context, for example, bullseye or shots on target, and we need like 50 or even 100 of them, it's easier to generate those with AI and just supervise which are actually suitable, accurate, which fit the needs, meet the requirements, and which not, because that can happen also, right? Of course, we will just take it in a let's say like a official delivery of the game, of the level. We would take it and kind of rewrite it just to make sure the emotions, the exact context is accurate. But when we actually need it for our own, let's say, internal reviews or tests, and just creating, content that will be delivered and right now is actually being tested, that's super cool to use the AI to just help us, right? Because it's always like that. You have level designers, for example, who are coming to you, us like writers, and they say, we need like a couple of texts when we see the monster, or we need a couple of hundreds of texts when we are getting hit. And we are just, okay, so we need to like also have other important tasks. So this one would be like, okay, we need to help ourselves, right? And that would be awesome when AI fits the requirements and he or it knows the context of the situation, which is quite simple, right? And it's like hundreds of games. Almost every game has this kind of context that always will be served by some combat barks, for example, right? So this is one thing. The second thing, I guess, because I already said about writing even before, I would make a step on the voiceovers. I think Sebastien will also have his important input on that. But still, there was a time I remember that when we were preparing a level, a test level, or even, making delivery or reviews for our internal needs. And we were, as writers or narrative designers, we were asked to bring our narrative layer. And we needed to check if our lines, voice lines, fit and they sound well and they play well, right? So there was time like a decade ago or 8 years ago, when I remember, when we as the writers, we were coming to the sound designers and we were recording our voices to check if they fit, right? And that was, Jesus Christ, it was so taking time a lot, right? So and we couldn't do anything more than that. And the day has like 8 hours, right? So that was very time consuming. And later on, we needed the sound designers to do out of our voice lines the audio files, right? And then we were ready to implement it in the game engine. And right now we have text to speech. We have a lot of like programs, AI programs that serve and that offer actually hundreds of voices, different, like male, female, child, and everything that actually we want. And it's like it takes like a couple of minutes to put the line, to record it, and to generate a file. And I dare to say that they are actually very good in case of the quality compared to, for example, the Ivona generator like 20 years ago, right? And no one actually used it when I remember I was starting my career in the game industry, and everyone was using real people, right? And right now it's super easy and super fast to take this generator, and they are pretty cool, really, and they sound good. So that we can even know or assume what length would be the best, because they are pretty accurate. So in case of narrative, really the sound AI sound generators are cool, really, and I recommend it.
Thank you, Maria. I just wanted to check, are there any tasks where you feel that, at least at this stage, AI is useless, cannot understand, cannot handle?
I won't actually, I won't count on AI when it comes to writing cutscenes. I checked it a couple of times just for my personal purposes, just to make sure how far it can go and how accurate it would be. I wasn't like super happy about the effects, and I think it's just because AI doesn't yet understand well the emotions or generating a conflict between characters. Of course it may change. It may change, and it may have changed. Like the time I was checking it was like a year ago or something, or 2 years ago. So right now it can be better, of course, and I think it would learn how to write it, because we have still databases of structures, of the dramatic and narrative structures. So it won't take long to make it fit and to make it sound and just feel good, right, or natural. But so far, I definitely would count on writers, on skillful writers, to write cutscenes.
Thank you a lot, Maria. And talking about emotions and the full scalability of AI to work well with them, I'm just wondering, how much does AI know about personalities? Is it good enough to build natural and diverse characters? Russell, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. I think the challenge now that we're seeing is that how do we get our characters and how do we get AI to be more human-like? And that's, I think, where you get the crossroads of interesting and immersive interaction, is having a character in your experience that feels like they are genuinely experiencing these emotions along with you as a player character. And so, I think that it's just a question of time and training data. And as the models get better and as the training data gets better, you're going to see these characters become more and more closer to what we would expect as a character should act and react in terms of emotions. And I think it's really key that we as players kind of see the game and have that kind of like illusion perceived. When you're playing this game, there are some areas of the characters that you're kind of like you accept because it's a game. And I think as the tech gets better, that line is going to blur more and more.
Cool. I'm wondering, as a player, is it easy for you to catch when the character is AI enhanced? Do you see this difference in the real game?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. As somebody who works day to day and converses with the characters basically all day, it is getting harder. When I first started working in the industry in the field of AI, it was much easier to kind of get a handle of whether the other side of the conversation was powered by AI or not. As time goes by, I've seen the models literally just get much more robust. And that means that, even sometimes when I know that it's an AI character that I've created myself and customized, I still get surprised by the answers that I get and the emotional responses, actually.
Okay. Now I'm getting a bit scared and saying this. I'm wondering the perspective of the voiceover creation and how does it impact the industry. Sebastian, you've started talking a bit about this, and also Maria contributed. So what's the best way you embed AI now in the work, and what are the challenges, the concern that you are having about AI, both ethical but also practical from the business perspective?
Yeah, I'll make some mileage on what Maria was saying about, and I totally understand that point of view from the video game company. Like, let's take for example a company who has 3 million line of script to record, right? I understand this is a very complex process, and you might want to simplify that process, right? So exactly for the combat grunts, well, we're doing good combat grunts. So let me know if you need any. But and especially for generic character, like when you go into a game and someone is selling fish, like you might not want to hire necessarily a voice actor for that. And again, it might simplify the process. So I totally understand that point of view. But on the other end, one thing that sometimes people forget is that well-known voice talent actually are helping selling games. And this is something that AI will never have, is what I call star power. When you hire a well-known voice talent, is actually contribute to the marketing strategies of selling the game afterwards, and they actually have a good follow-up. So when a well-known, and this is why we hire, a star for movie, they do sell movie. And it's the same thing in voice acting. We have people who actually contribute to selling games. So I think that's a point that we don't have to forget about, that AI will never have the star power of a well-known voice talent. That's one thing. Of course, the impact or tremendous in the sense that some people fear that it will totally replace actor. I don't think this will happen. I do believe that we will always need voice talent in the loop. And that's the thing. Like I was saying, star power, maybe the ones that will be, let's say, safer from getting less job would be the people who are the most known. Because if we use voice talent for more generic PC and they're replaced by AI, generative AI, they will have to find something else. Well, the thing is, human, we adapt and we try other stuff. So I do believe that is an adaptative period. I'm sorry, I'm French here, so I'm trying to to remember how to speak English sometime. But the thing is, again, I don't want to diminish the concern of my colleague in voice acting. They are numerous. And of truest course, I agree with what Russell was saying, is that the lines are getting blurrier. Like it's harder and harder to say if it's a real human or not. But it boils down to, again, consent, if depending on the voice that we're used to generate different AI text-to-speech, it's all about making sure, at least if people are not going to get jobs anymore, that at least they get they get money from being the one who actually helped building those AI voices. For me, that's an important part of making sure that we find a balance between the AI industry and the voice talent. This is why for me it's important to talk and discuss with those companies to actually voice our concern and to try and find a balance and see how we can work together. Again, not saying like you shall not pass like Gandalf. For me, like it's already happening, it's there, so we have to find a way to work with that.
Thank you very much, Sebastien. And before we move to the growth stream, I really liked one point. I think from this perspective, we've never looked at AI. And I'm wondering how the AI usage and, it's like official advertisement affects marketing. Do you see that the audience is happy that you're using AI in game development? Does it seem they want it? Or does it feel like the players are not very happy and want more of the human touch? What do you think, Maria, Russell, Sebastien?
One thing just for me, I think I totally agree with Sebastien. And when I was talking about using AI, it was just, for the internal, let's say, purposes when it comes to delivering some stuff, but before the final version of the game. I mean, I cannot actually imagine a game that I will be working on, where if we plan to have voice lines, they would be voice lined by AI. Definitely an official, and the target effect would be hiring actors and voice talents, right? And that's where we actually that's what we want. This is our goal. But to check how those lines sound and how their length is accurate, or is it accurate, right? And they, fit to the progress of the level, for example, right? We need to test it, and this is AI for exactly.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's the question of how do we apply AI? Is it like basically technical usage, well managed and empowering for people and instrument, or is it something that basically changed the human? And I think this is pretty obvious, right? If we put AI instead of us, none of the things going to be working as they work now. But coming back, thanks for sharing this, like the insights and reflection to Sebastian's words. But Maria, do you feel that this kind of statement that we use an AI in game development has positive or rather negative impact on the players? Do they feel it? How do they feel facing the AI but not another human who is developing everything?
It depends on the situation. I mean, there are always, two sides, right? And I think players are, I mean, I'm pretty sure they are aware of using AI, and sometimes it's hard to hear or spot that something in case of narrative was done by the AI. If we think of sound, okay, that's maybe some avid players would see the difference. But the more programs this AI sound generators actually appear on the market, I think that it's harder. The harder is to spot the difference. Really, they are pretty well designed, and they pretty well serve the deal and meet the requirements. When it comes to writing, I think most players, for now, as far as I'm concerned, they would see the difference. So it's this kind of emotions that a writer puts in the lines. So when it comes to writing, definitely, I wouldn't want to let's say cheat players, right? Of course, when it comes to like the barks, some kind of generic statements, that's fine. But when it comes to building up the relationship, creating the characters, this should be like an art of writing, and this should be included this kind of emotions in there. And it's easy to, I think it's easy to notice when it's not.
Thank you, Maria. To be honest, I have so many questions about AI in game design, but at this stage, I think we're going to put this conversation on hold and move forward to talk a bit about AI in growth. And particularly, I would like to start with the question how the AI could be used in the chains of a growth funnel to enhance, improve, and speed up the process. What are the AI solutions for growth that can demonstrate the improvement of ROI and so on? And Hagop, what do you think about addressing this one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the advancement, it's very exciting, and it's driving so much operational efficiency. And if I were to say, I will divide it into 4 areas. There's the research part, there's the creation, operation, and execution. I'll dive into each one of those. So what we've done at Appvertiser, and we're using it with our internal operational team, is we got our hands dirty with GPT Plus, where we've created our own version for different areas, starting first with the research one. So what we did was we fed it with information from the marketplace that we have, publicly available information, of course, not using any of our client data, such as, for instance, we looked into market indexes from AppsFlyer, Adjust, Singular, Kachava, any available information out there. It gave to this the AI and told, learn about this market, learn about what are the top countries by game genre, what are the top channels for user acquisition, what are the benchmarks on the CPI, etc. So by creating this, we were able to actually tackle the research part from our end, where, for instance, we'll give a prompt of saying, hey, my next game that I'm going to optimize for is a simulation game, and my biggest target is North America. What are my best channels and what CPI so I should expect? And it throws it up the data for you. We did something similar on SCAD with attribution, which is, for a lot of people with attribution, it's a little bit of a challenging topic, and it has a lot of details. So with the SCAD schema, we basically, again, we fed it in a way where it's able to tell you how to set it up based on the optimization targets that you have. So for instance, if your game, you're optimizing for, let's say, ad revenue or in-app purchases, by giving all these information, it's able to tell you how to use your 64 bits on the SCAD schema. So those were more on the research side, I would say. From the operational side, this is something that we've played around with. We haven't gone far yet, but I'm very excited how it's going to pan out. So essentially, with our project management team and for task management, what we did was we created the concept of, for instance, if, let's say, I onboarded a new client X, and in the back end, there's a lot of manual work that requires, which is onboarding the client, creating a brief, adding all the documents that you took from the client to your Google folder, starting a Slack channel. So you can imagine this is a lot of labor work that somebody has to go and do it on their own. So the concept that we created essentially is like, you tell to the AI that this is my client, here's all the files, you go and organize it for me. And essentially it'll be like loading, and then automatically you see like a Slack channel created, Google folder created, and you have a file and everything informing you like these are the people that you're going to work with, etc., etc. I'm so excited about this. Of course, this one is a little bit trickier because when we tried it with just GPT plus, we realized that it was lacking some technicality. So the technicality essentially is like using the GPT API and connecting it with the different APIs in the market. So in regards to execution on the UA end, similar to this operational example, we're actually playing around with the API of GPT for helping us run and manage some of the campaigns. So essentially being like a co-pilot for us. So for instance, imagine this. You have the Facebook API or the Unity Ads API or Google API. And by connecting the two together, what we're going to be able to do is say like, hey, here's my budget, here's my target audience, you go and set up the campaign for me. And here are my creatives. So I would say one thing to keep in mind with this all is that the most important part is feeding the data. I think, Russell, you mentioned about the importance of training the system. So it's very important to making sure that you're constantly feeding the data to the AI to be able to give you the right answers you want, and the answers that's what you're looking for. So those were on the, I would say, operation and research side. And lastly, I would cover very briefly on the creative end. So for creative production, we've made a lot of advancements in terms of leveraging AI. So from the voiceover, we use a couple of tools that essentially on any ads that we have, we've been able to create the voiceover in a split second where we didn't have to go and hire a UGC or any person that can help us create that, and we localized it. Now we're even exploring another tool where it's adding a little bit of the emotions aspect of it, so it's not going to be that robotic audio that you hear on TikTok. So there's a tool called Revoicer that we're exploring that can add some of these emotions. So it's definitely not there yet, but it's getting to that point where I think it's going to be a big part. That's on the voiceover, but there's other tools that we've been using it for image editing. So for instance, we did one with App Store screenshots where we created by using Photoshop AI. It generated a couple of assets in a split second, and we've added in the main file, and voila, we have App Store screenshots. Lastly, on the video end, we played around with Runway, where you can essentially, what you're doing is like you're animating a static image, basically. With that, it's essentially what it's doing on the marketing end. It's enhancing the creatives and making it a lot more eye-catchy for the user. Now, what's going to be interesting for me is something that I don't know, Sebastian or Maria, you guys will agree with this. Is essentially is like there's this experimentation that's happening in the market is essentially creating avatars, and these avatars are essentially, what I'm seeing is that it's aiming to replace all those influencers or UGC people that are selling your game in the market on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. There's a lot of people are trying to create UGCs. There's a little bit of the deep fake. I'm not talking about the deep fake, but essentially creating something completely from scratch. As Maria mentioned in the beginning, is like Sora came out from OpenAI, and it looks scary. Like when you see the video of these people, they're so realistic. So imagine what's going to be next when these fake people start talking. So I definitely can envision that it's going to to be part of our marketing strategies, where companies are creating these avatars that are essentially your brand ambassadors that are selling your product.
Thank you, Hagop. So I see that you're doing so many things using AI, not only in the growth streams when delivering services to your customers, but also in internal operations. So the last question I just wanted to ask you to address is, what are the areas in growth marketing that you see that left behind in terms of AI implementation, and how do you approach those?
Yeah, so there's two things I want to cover on this. One is that I would say in the growth marketing space, we're still at the end of the day on the backstage. There's a lot of data and a lot of numbers that we have to work with, right? Like your ROAS, your CPI, the delta between your LTV and CAC. So one of the issues I would say with the AI right now is that it's not perfect when it comes to mathematical calculations. So when it comes to that, I would say we're still not 100% relying on it from the point of like showing them a number and telling, hey, optimize and tell me what to do the best way. So definitely I think you will get there. So I believe it's like, as you feed more data, I think you will get to that point. From the area perspective of like what left behind, I think one of the things I would mention is that even though like you would imagine that everybody is excited about AI or scared, but a lot of people in reality, they're not playing around with it. So what we did was at Appvertiser, we wanted to get the room temperature with our team to see who's using AI, who's not using it. And we found out that majority of our employees did not even touch GPT. I'm not talking about the plus version, the regular version. So instead, what we did something creative where we created a hackathon. We created one GPT plus on our end. And then we told the team, here are a couple of topics. They even came up with a couple of topics on their end. And we said, let's do a hackathon. And what ended up being is like the big win that we got from that hackathon was we got to a point where a lot of our employees started using it in their day-to-day, and then they saw like, oh, actually this can help me with my day-to-day operation. So definitely I would say it's a transition that needs to happen. So a lot of people are still left behind on this technology. They're kind of like wait and see. But I would always suggest and motivate people to spend some time playing around with it, do an R&D. Like for instance, with our creative team, I always tell them, invest 5 to 10% of your resources into testing new things. Just go out there, explore, and you will be surprised how many added value that this can bring. So definitely I'm looking forward with what this is going to be. And I'm not saying that this is going to replace our jobs, but I'm 100% believer that this is going to enhance our jobs. This is going to make us a lot better in our day-to-day work.
Yes, absolutely agree. And talking about creativity and application of AI, what I noticed at this stage when like AI and creativity was just growing is that some professionals were considering usage of AI as alternative streams. So they would say, I do not have time to create with AI because I'm too busy creating on my own. So I really like that this perception has changed. And now it's not a separate stream, and it's not a separate stream to test AI empowered creatives, but it's rather a part and sometimes the best source of insights, information, and content. And talking about performance marketing and process, so we touched a bit with Hagop, but Kathleen, I wanted to dive deeper into how AI can improve the performance processes dramatically, and can AI application for targeting, for example, and then analytics could unlock new growth streams and significantly improve the metrics. What's your opinion here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, AI has the power to drastically improve performance processes by enhancing things like efficiency and precision and effectiveness. So if we take a look at UA campaigns, for example, before the implementation of AI, UA campaigns were and actually still often are managed manually. And so this means that all the activity related to things like campaign targeting, campaign optimizations, These things were accomplished by individual people sifting through various data points to determine the performance of different demographics and then adjusting the targeting accordingly, blacklisting, whitelisting certain demographics. This can be an extremely time-consuming and tedious task, and human factors such as being hangry, hungry and angry can actually directly impact the decisions that are being made. And so this can influence the campaign performance. But in comparison with an AI-powered algorithm like the one created in-house at Gamelight, this AI, these algorithms, they can actually analyze these data points and more so. And they can do this in real time. And our algorithms can analyze data faster and better than humans can. And this is due to the sheer magnitude of factors that are being considered. So if we go a step further, these data points can be used to enhance targeting and personalization, which in turn can add value to both our users and our partners as well. So for example, at Gamelight, our users, they can't even begin to install and earn rewards for playing our games without willingly and actively sharing data with us. And so what this means is that when a user installs our app, they're not just ticking off a terms of use box, but they're actually taking the action to make the necessary adjustments in their device's settings. So we're not even going to show them new games to play without their consent. But once we do have the consent and once we do show them new games, our AI algorithm actually ensures that we're providing value to these users by showing each individual user a personalized or curated selection of up to 4 games. And these games that they're displayed to the users, they're based on this data, and the AI is showing the ones that the users have actively shared with us. So essentially, by understanding these, different unique characteristics and the needs of different users, marketers and different solution providers can actually tailor their offers to resonate more effectively with their users. And this leads to targeting users with the highest likelihood of, converting and engaging and making a purchase. In fact, on our channel, for example, we'll see a 40% increase in ROAS using this kind of strategy. So overall, the AI-powered algorithms can help to drive better performance outcomes and enhance the overall user satisfaction.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. I need to admit it's a pity we have only 1 hour, because basically every topic deserves at least a few hours of conversation. And it's now when AI is not fully there. So I can imagine how big the AI panel is going to be in the future. And for those who are watching us, this is a last call to send your questions. We are expected to have at least time to address 1 or 2 of them. And saying this, I would like to invite our speakers for the last round of questions. But considering we have just 5-7 minutes left, I would kindly ask you to be short and precise on this one. So I consider a very fruitful conversation on the goods and bads and best ways to implement, at least at this stage, of AI. I'm wondering, what are the thoughtful and efficient way to implement AI in business processes? And looking behind on how you started using AI and interacting with AI, what are the alternatives? Like, what would you do differently to make AI your friend, your power up, not just the tool that you use artificially and do not gain the results you expect? Russell, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the context of the use case, right? Like I mentioned before, especially for game development, there's the runtime and the design time tools. So leveraging AI it's very interesting because it's such a tool that fits so many use cases, but it really should be a hyper personalization, which is why I really like what OpenAI is doing, allowing companies to submit their own GPTs and create their own tools. So yes, I really think it's about the context.
Perfect. Thank you, Russell. Hagop, I see that you automate so many processes with AI. So my question is, what's the hint? What help you to progress, from having one area, AI powered, to having the whole process and all folks involved with GPT?
Yeah, I think I would piggyback on what I mentioned in terms of having more adaptation and having more people involved is the example of the hackathon that I brought up, it's a good way to get people engaged. Like if you have, let's say, few members that are already familiar, others are not familiar, it's a good opportunity for them to get together and talk and try to figure it out, and a good way to learn. And the other thing, as I mentioned again, is like make this as a rule, is like always dedicate 5% of your time, maybe 10 if you have enough time, to go out there and explore and do some R&Ding. So those would be my two feedbacks.
Thank you very much, Hagop. And talking about basically marketing application, Kathleen, what do you think the best way to embed tools such as Gamelight?
Well, listen, you can have a killer ad, but to get the most out of that ad, it needs to reach the right audience. So by leveraging AI-powered algorithms in user acquisition, marketers were better able to anticipate which placements are likely to yield the highest engagement. And then this way we can better allocate ad budgets and effectively optimize towards ROAS.
Thank you, Kathleen. And Maria, I'm wondering, did you have any bloopers using AI? Because I see there's a lot of space for it,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even in the previous years, we were like laughing at lots of things that were like sounded weird, or they were spelled weird. And sometime when all those AI devices are also can be run or used by the voice, right? So this is actually a very funny potential for bloopers, and yeah, we had a lot of them, and during our work, and that's why I always say, and I will be repeating that every time you use AI, it's good to double check and to supervise them. And I see, for my last thing is that I see a great opportunity for AI avid users or AI designers to fill this spot on conferences when it comes to teach or present different and helpful AI programs for writers and narrative designers. Like I really need what I need as a narrative designer and writer. I really need some kind of base and database that consists of recommended programs for writers and narrative designers. Really, I would be very glad.
Okay, that sounds cool. I hope we can gather next time together and basically make this list for the most relevant tools for each industry. And saying this, Sebastien, I'm wondering what's your perspective, how to find the balance between embedding AI and actually not using it to the full extent?
Well, it's going to be an ongoing discussion with company that are actually
have only 2 minutes left for that. So
doing AI voices. I again, I do believe the attitude is what will make the discussion possible. Like for me, AI is there. It's there to be there. It's gonna be implemented across the board, and even not only in voiceover, but for any creative aspect or video game. We're talking about creating visual assets for character. We're talking about video. So it's going to be something that it's going to be there to stay, right? So for me, my hope is that AI company uses text to speech and voice will actually come and talk to well, that's the thing, it's going to be the union, because usually the unions are representing the voice talent, but at least they're going to try at least and start to have a talk with the different union or the voice actors association, just to see what are the possibilities, how we can work together on this. And that thing, I think it's the starting point. And after that, of course, I don't know. There's multiple possibilities, but yeah, I think that's what I have to say. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to run because I have another conference in a school in a few minutes. So I apologize if I leave you all there. Thank you so much, everyone, for this.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
At least on my side, the lovely Olga has frozen, so I am going to jump in on her behalf to thank all of you so much. My brain is now overflowing with more AI topics. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I would say then we don't have to make a rushed goodbye, but we nevertheless do have to say goodbye to all of you. Please, everyone in the chat, everyone who's been watching, if you've got questions for these fine people, do ping them at them. It's clearly a topic which, as we've said, we could dive